Welcome to the Westcott Crochet channel and welcome to the Loopy Raglan Sweater. If there is a written pattern, the link will be in the description box. For this project, my yarn recommended a 4mm hook and I used a 5mm and a 2.5mm. I also used a tape measure, stitch markers and a yarn needle to weave in my ends. I'd really like to keep the projects coming, so please help to improve my reach by subscribing, using that like button and sharing the link with any crocheting friends. You can now also follow me on Instagram, and if your account is set to public, do tag me in on any pictures of your Westcott crochet projects. With my 5mm hook, I'm going to make a chain that goes all the way around the widest part of my head. I'm going to form a loop with the chain, so that loop needs to go over my head. The chain also needs to be a multiple of 6, so I'm going to chain 60. I have 60 chains. I made sure that my chain isn't twisted, and then insert my hook into chain number 1. Oops, all the loose ends, and slip stitch to join and form a loop. Chain 1 to build up my yarn, and then I'm going to make a single crochet into each chain all the way around the loop. I've worked my single crochet round. I've got 60 stitches. I started with 60 chains, so to make sure that you've got the right amount of stitches, because it's important for later, it needs a multiple of 6. So I'm going to slip stitch to make sure my loop isn't twisted, and slip stitch into my chain 1 from the beginning. So yarn over and pull through everything for the slip stitch. Chain 1, and I'm going to mark my chain 1, just so that I can easily identify it at the end of the round. So I'll just turn around, and I'm going to work loop stitch for this next round. And the loop stitch is basically a single crochet, but you're pulling out a loop at the back, which then just, well, stays at the back. It's actually the front then, but as you work in the stitch, it comes out of the back. So in through a stitch, and with my loop, I just take it over my finger and wrap my hook around the back. So up through the stitch, around the back, grab both loops and pull them back through. And you see you've got 2 loops that are crossed, which is the loop, and then a 3rd loop, which was already on the hook. So pull that off my finger and hold the loop down at the back, yarn over, pull through the 3 loops. So again, in through the stitch, around the back, pull it through, 3 loops, 2 of which are twisted, yarn over, pull through those 3 loops. So you're probably going to need to practice this if you haven't had a go before. It does get a lot easier and a lot quicker. Not right now for me because I'm on camera and it's awkward. But yeah, it gets a lot quicker. So I'm going to loop my way all the way around and I'll be back. I've looped all the way around and I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 1 that I've marked here from the start to close that round. So I'll just show you from the right side what that looks like. Just got a row of 60 little loops, and on the back it's just regular single crochet. So just take out the marker. I'm going to chain 1 and mark that one. And then I'm going to set off again and work 60 loop stitches all the way around. I'm going to go in the same direction to make sure that my loops are all on the same side. And I'm going to work 3 rounds in total. I'll be back when I've done all 3. That's 3 rounds of loops. There's a fair bit of loop wrangling to go because your hook wants to get into every loop possible. But that's what that looks like after 3 rounds. It's nice and fluffy. I'm going to swap my hook now to a 2.5, down from a 5. So half the size. And I'm going to chain the collar now, and the collar is going to be folded in half. So I need to do like a double length. So however high I want the collar to be, I need to do twice that much. And this is the base of the collar. So this is going to be for me 25. 25 chains. I'm going to chain 1 to turn, and I'm going to work single crochet 1 stitch in each chain. I have 25 single crochets all the way down my chain, and here at the bottom at the collar I'm going to slip stitch into these stitches all the way around. So the first 2 I'm going to slip stitch into. So 1, pull through everything, and 2, yarn over, pull through everything. And I've actually put a stitch marker now into the 3rd stitch, because sometimes when you're slip stitching, you come back and it looks like the stitch is still open and it's actually been worked. So I like to put a marker into the next stitch so I know where I'm starting my slip stitches next time. Because it's important that we get the count right on this one. I've got 60 stitches on my ring, my circuit. So I'll be doing 60 rows, and I'll be slip stitching twice into the base each time I arrive there. So that'll be 30 times. So that's 2 slip stitches to join it onto the base. And then I have to count up 3 stitches, because the first 2 are my slip stitches. So 1, 2, 3. And from that 3rd stitch, back loop only, I'm going to single crochet. I'm going to back loop, single crochet all the way back up this new section. Here at the end, I've just worked all my back loop single crochets, chain 1, and I'm going to come back down, same again, back loops, missing the turn chain, so from the 2nd stitch, oops, there we go, and just single crochet the whole way down into the back loops only. Back here at the base, and as I say, this is the marked stitch. That's the first one to slip stitch into. It's not this one. That one has been worked, which is why I mark it, because sometimes it looks like it hasn't. So in through number 1, slip stitch once, in through number 2, slip stitch for a 2nd time. Oops, I've got the stitch marker in the way. And then I'm going to mark the next stitch along. So again, I know where to start slip stitching at the other end. So from here, I'm going to do that over and over, back loop, single crochet. So from this end, it's the 3rd stitch along, so the first 2 are the slip stitches. Back loop, single crochet all the way to the end, chain 1 to turn, skip the turn chain, back loop, single crochet all the way back down, slip stitch twice into the base. And I'm going to do that all the way around. As I say, for me, I'm going to have 60 rows, 30 up, 30 down, and I'm going to slip stitch twice into the base 30 times. I've worked all the way around with my back loop single crochet rows, slip stitching twice into the base. I've just slip stitched into the last 2 stitches on my base, and I need to work up again, but whilst doing so, it's going to be a slip stitch row, and I'm going to join the 2 sides. So I just need to set myself up so that my start row, if you see here, I've got a flat edge on the start chain. On the other side, it sort of curves around. It doesn't have that flat start point like I have here. That's the side that I want to join from, the flat side. So on the start chain, I've only got 1 loop to work, so I'm going to go into that loop. If I can get in. There we are. And then on the row I've just worked, I'm going to go into the back loop. Just 2 slip stitches still. Skip those. and back loop in there, and then I'm going to slip stitch. So again, remaining loop from the start chain, back loop from the row I've just worked, and slip stitch. I'm going to do that the whole way up. Just make sure you don't pull your slip stitches too tight, otherwise it will bow and you'll get a curve on your seam. There's my finished seam, just going up there. On the other side, it matches the pattern as well. So that's right side out, and this will be worn like this. So this is where my raglan will be worked from this point, and then the collar just folds over at the top. So from here I need to build a raglan sweater onto the bottom. My collar's inside out, loops are on the inside, and I've added stitch markers. The first one is just my chain 1 at the end of the seam. So I've marked that chain 1, and I've got 4 more marking what will be the corners of my sweater. Here it comes in with a multiple of 6. So my multiple of 6 was 60, so I have 10 multiples of 6. So I'm going to put a stitch at the end of each row. The end of each row is marked by a dip for one row and a rise for the next. So dip, rise, dip, rise, dip, rise. I've counted across 10, where I will have 10 stitches, and I've put my marker in the 10th stitch because my multiple of 6 was 10. Done the same on the other side, count across, stitch marker goes into the 10th stitch, or 10th row at the end of the 10th row, where the 10th stitch will be. After that, from here, I'm going to mark around another 10, and my stitch marker then goes into the 11th stitch. Same around here, count out my 10, and this marker goes into the 11th stitch. Reason being, I put it into the 10th here, so I've got 9 stitches and then the marked stitch. Similarly, 9 and then the marked stitch, so I've got 18 in the back. So I want 18 in the front, and that's what that gives me. So I've got 10 on each side, 18 in the front, 18 in the back. If your number's 8, if your multiple of 6 is 8, you'd count 8 stitches or 8 rows, and your stitch marker goes into the 8th row. Again on the other side. And then from this marker, you'd count round 8, and your marker will go into the 9th. Again on the other side, count round 8, marker goes into the 9th, and you'll have the same number of stitches back and front. I hope that makes sense. So on we go. I'm going to work a griddle stitch, which is single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, alternating the whole way round. And into the corners, where the markers are, I'll work 3 stitches, just continuing the griddle pattern. So stitch number 1 is a single crochet, always, just in the end of the row, in the dip. Stitch number 2 is a double crochet in the end of the row, in the rise, single in the dip, double on the rise, all the way to my marked stitch. So I've worked my 9 stitches up to my marked stitch. I'm just going to take that out. And I've just worked a single crochet. So the next in the sequence for the griddle stitch is a double. So into that next row end, I'm going to put a double crochet. Sorry about the scratchy stitch markers. I can't really do anything about that, I'm afraid. So that's a double. I'm also going to put a single in that same spot, and I'm going to put a double in the same spot. So I've gone for 3 stitches in that 10th row, and I've kept the sequence going. So I started with a double, a single, and a double, and I'm going to mark stitch number 2 of that cluster of 3. So I've just worked a double, so my next into the next row end is a single. I'll keep going until I get to the next marker. Here at the marked stitch, which is in a dip this time, just get rid of that for now. I have just worked a double, so I'm on for a single, double, single into the marked stitch and marked row end. And I'm going to mark stitch number 2 of the cluster of 3. I'm going to do that the whole way around. Single, double, all the way around. When I get to a marked stitch, I keep the single, double going, but place 3 stitches into the marked stitch. So I've worked all the way around. I should have mentioned the seam must be counted as a stitch. That's one of these stitches. So as I counted out 10 on one side, I started in the dip after the seam, and I counted out 10 on the other side, and I started with the seam as number 1. So my last stitch has gone into the seam, and it's a double crochet. You should be ending on a double. Start with a single, worked an even number of stitches, and you end on a double. And that's how it ends each row or each round. So now I'm just going to slip stitch into the marked stitch, the chain up of 1. Just pull that open. Force my way through there. Whoops, try not to slip stitch my stitch marker at the same time. Take that out now. And slip stitch that closed. Chain 1, mark my chain 1, and turn around. And I start again with a single crochet and do the single, double. Because I ended on a double, I'm now automatically putting my first single on top of that double. And my double goes on top of the single. So alternating all the way around again, and singles go on top of doubles, doubles go on top of singles. And at the corner, the marked stitch, the middle of the 3, I'm going to work 3 again and mark the middle stitch. After 2 rounds, it looks like this, and the corners are starting to form. Eventually you won't need stitch markers in the corners because it'll be obvious where they are, but they get more and more pronounced as you work outwards. You're essentially working a square now at the base of the collar. So this is the back, side, front, side. And these corner sections will extend outwards. And you want to keep working around and around each square until these corner points reach your underarm. So just keep going, chain 1 to turn, mark the chain 1, turn around, and then do single, double all the way around into the corner stitches, 3 stitches in each. Keep the single, double going. Slip stitch into the chain 1 at the end of each round. I'm back. I've worked, I think, 20 rounds, and these points now reach my underarm, and the width now equals half the circumference of the widest part of my upper body. So measure all the way around your upper body, the widest part, divide that by 2. That's the width that you're aiming for. If you've reached depth, and this is at your underarm, but you haven't yet got width, I will be joining the 2 sides with chain stitches. So you could just add more chains to increase your width at that point. I mean, you shouldn't be far off. So yeah, just extra chains. I'll be adding just a couple of chains because I'm at width. So I don't want it to be too loose, but I don't want it to be too tight either. So I'm going to add a few chains just to make that a bit looser. So I'm going to be adding chains here to join to this corner. And then I'll go across and add chains here and join to this corner. I'm just going to zoom in and do that. I've worked across from my start point, the centre seam, across to the corner, and I've put my stitch into the corner stitch, just one this time, And in my sequence, that one stitch is a single crochet. Over on the corner that I'm joining to the back, well, this is actually the front, sorry. This is the back that I've started on, joining to the front. The corner stitch is a double crochet. So I'm a single over here and a double over here. So I need to add an even number of chains to make sure that I come out at the double. I don't want to add too many chains to mention, so I'm just going to add 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then I jump over to my corner, my second corner. Both sides are facing the right side, the outside. Yarn over for a double, in through the stitch and work the double crochet. Then I'm on to a single and so on. And just work my way around. So I'll work across the front now with my alternating stitches. Over on the other side in my corner, I'll work my corner stitch, my 4 chains, and then my corner single stitch over on the other side, whichever stitch it falls into in the sequence. And then I'll come back and finish and slip stitch as normal. Gone all the way around, joined my back to my front, and I have these little chains. As I say, if you need more width, your chains are going to be longer. So I'm just going to work up now. This is my new circuit, my new route, around over the chains and back around again. I'm just going to work up to the first chain and I'll come back. Here I am at the chain. I worked the chain and then the double crochet on the other side that joined the 2 sides. So I've just put my single crochet on top of my last double there, and I'm here at my 4 chains and I'm onto a double now. So I've just worked a single, in for a double with the chain, and single for the next one, and literally just carrying it on right over the chain. And the last one is a single. And then I pick up with a double on the other side. At this point, just check where you are, make sure you're going in the right direction, you're not going up an armhole. I want to be going across, oops, the front now. So I've just worked across the back, half the back, across the chain, and now I'm going across the front. I'll work across the other chain exactly the same way and close the round as normal. And then I'm just going to keep going in round and round and round to get the length that I want for my sweater. I've worked the length of my sweater and I've added a sleeve on one side. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. On the other side, this is the back. As you can see, there's the seam going down the back. Oh, if you can see, there's the seam. The griddle stitch is quite good in hiding the seam. It disguises it quite well. But if you chain 1 at the start of each round and turn in the same direction, and then when you close each round you slip stitch in exactly the same way, you should have a nice neat seam like this. In addition, the griddle stitch is useful for working in rounds because you know you're always starting with a single crochet on top of a double, and you're always ending with a double on top of a single. So if you've worked a single and you're at the end, then you've got 1 more stitch to work. There's no question about that. You've missed one. Whereas sometimes when you're working in rounds, you're not entirely sure whether you've got that last stitch yet to work if it's pulled a little bit too tight. For the bottom here, I just worked 2 rounds in a 2.5mm hook. It was just a little bit baggy at the bottom. So just to pull that in, I switched from a 5mm hook for a 2.5mm hook, and as I say, just worked 2 rounds, exactly the same griddle stitch. Let's get onto a sleeve. To start the sleeve, I've turned upside down and I'm here at the bottom of the arm opening where I worked a chain to join the 2 sides of my original square. I'm into the 3rd stitch of my 4. I had 4 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm in the 3rd stitch. I've added a slip knot, pulled that through, chained 1 and marked the chain 1. So I'll be slip stitching into that to close. So into that same stitch, I'm now going to work a loop stitch. It's been a while, so I'll just go through that again with you. So into the exact same stitch, insert my hook. So I'm just going to work the tail end while I go. So that's the tail end, just ignore that. Hook around the back, down, back through the stitch, release the loop, hold it down, yarn over, pull through the 3 loops that are on your hook. So again, in through the stitch, around the back and down with the loop, yarn over, pull through those 3 loops. So I'm going to work that all the way around. I'll slip stitch into my chain 1 to close, and I'll go around 2 more times, so 3 in total, same as I did with the neck, the collar. Make sure that your loops are facing towards the front, so the outside. So if you work from the inside, your loops should be on the outside. That's 3 rounds of loops. That's the first stage of sleeve. I have 62 stitches all the way around my arm opening, and I've marked the 31st stitch. So I've got 31 up this side, 31 coming down the other side, and I've marked the 31st stitch because I'm going to be travelling in this direction. So I'm swapping my hook now from the 5 again to the 2.5. I'll just get myself into position and I'll come back. So with the 2.5mm hook, I'm going to, from where I left off, chain 1, 2 and 3, chain an extra 1 to turn, and starting from the second chain, single crochet. So again, 1, 2 and 3, and then into that last one I'm actually going to add a 4th. So 2 stitches into the last stitch. And then I'm going to go to the armhole, and on the first 2 stitches around there I'm going to slip stitch. So that's 1 and 2. Then I'll turn around and I'm going to work my way back up this new section in the back loops only. First 2 are my slip stitches that I've just worked, so into the third, into the back loop only. There's the front, there's the back, I'm in the back, and single crochet into number 2. I now have 4 stitches in total, that's 3, and in the 4th I'm going to go through 2 loops just for these last stitches. I just don't like to do a back loop on the final stitch at the end of a row. So both loops for the final stitch only. Chain 1 to turn and turn, and again for this first stitch only, the top stitch, both loops. That's number 1. I've got 3 more, and the 3 will be in back loop. So it's 1, 2, 3 in the back loops. I'm going to stick an extra one into that last stitch again. So I've now gone from 4 stitches to 5 stitches. And again, I'm going to slip stitch twice around the armhole. Whoops, I can find my spot. Once and twice. If you need to, mark your next stitch so that you know where the next stitch to slip stitch into starts. I'm going to keep going up and down this next second part of the sleeve. So it's going to be back loop, single crochet, all except for the last stitch at the end, out at the end part, where I'll work 2 loops, and then I'll come back down and I'll work 2 loops again for the first stitch, and then I'll work 2 stitches into the last stitch, and then I'll slip stitch twice into the base. I'm going to keep doing that, increasing at the end of the incoming row until I get to my marked stitch. Now I've got 31, as I say, at one side and 31 down the other, so that's an uneven number. So when I get to 31, I'm going to have to do something different. I'll be back then. I'm back. I've worked all the way up one side. I started down here with 3 stitches. I've added an increased stitch at the base each time I've arrived there, and I've now got 18. I've just slip stitched into stitch number 29 and 30. If I had an even number of 30 stitches up this side and 30 stitches down the other side, I'd now start decreasing. So I'd work up and then decrease into the last 2 stitches instead of increasing. I haven't, I've got an uneven number. So if you've got an uneven number, you're doing the same as me here. So all I'm going to do is go all the way there to the end, all the way back to the base, no increase or decrease. And then I'll slip stitch into stitch number 31 and stitch number 1 on the other side. So I worked my top 2 slip stitches and I'm now working down the other side of the sleeve. I've gone all the way to the end again, and I've come all the way back down to the centre again, and I've just stopped 2 stitches short at the end. So it's 1 and 2. I'm going to work these 2 together to decrease. So I go in through the first back loop, pull back a loop, in through the second back loop, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And now I'm down from 18 to 17. Again, I'll slip stitch twice into the base, and I'll keep doing that now all the way down the other side. So where I previously worked an increase, I'll be working a decrease, and I'll get back down to 3 stitches at the bottom here. Okay, that's the second half of the sleeve. I've gone back from 18 stitches down to 3. I slip stitched into the final 2 stitches on the base, and I've worked back up my 3 stitches back to the end. Now I'm just going to join the 2 sides, just 3 stitches to go. So chain 1 at the end as normal, and I'm going to go in through the remaining loop from my start chain of 3 on this side, and then through both loops just for this top stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch. So just pull through everything to slip stitch that closed. In through the next remaining loop from the start chain, and then just through the back loop on the other side, yarn over and slip stitch. Last one, remaining loop, back loop, and pull through everything for a slip stitch. And that's it. 2 sides joined, sleeve finished. Just going to chain 1. Oops, chain 1 to secure that, and then I can cut my yarn and weave that in, and I'm all done. After all of that, you should have something like this. Do let me know how you got on in the comments section. A huge thanks to everyone who's out there actively supporting the channel, and thanks so much for watching today.